Hey, what's up, everybody? That's some really dope intro music. I'm glad we started that way. Welcome. I'm, of course, Stoner Jesus. All of you know that, but you're wondering, what is this? What am I watching? Well, the title says Bible live stream Genesis 1, so that's pretty self explanatory. It's a live stream of the Bible. Of course, make sure you go follow A Highway to God on X and on YouTube. You see it right there. The replays of these streams will go on the YouTube. So we'll try to build that as well as the X. For those who don't know, and it says it in the header of A Highway to God on X, I was agnostic for over 30 years. Recently found God and recently began some pretty intense Bible study. Um, I enjoy learning, and this is something I'm passionate about. So, having said that, as I know a lot of you who follow me on Stoner Jesus 420 on X, a lot of you are atheists, a lot of you are agnostic. I get that. Like I said, I was that way for over 30 years. You will find no judgment from me. Um, I know all the arguments. I'm a novice when it comes to Bible study and things like that in Christianity, but what I am an expert on is not believing in God. So this is not, this is not a preachy thing. This is, we're going to sit here, we're going to chill, we're going to smoke some weed, we're going to read some of the Bible and learn more about it. And that's it. You like it or you don't. The live streams will start on Stoner Jesus 420 as they have tonight with this first one because you have to be verified to stream. I have to check into this to make sure, but I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube to be able to stream live there. In any case, the last I checked, I have 5, so I don't think I quite make the threshold yet. But I may get A Highway to God on X verified, depending on what the level of interest is in this. I don't know. A lot of people may want to see this. Maybe nobody don't want to see it. We have to find out. Other thing you need to know about me, if you're a Christian, you've never seen this show before, I enjoy cannabis. Even while I was an agnostic, I never got the argument of Christians being so against the cannabis plant as it is put here undeniably by God. If you believe in God, which I didn't then, I do now, but at any point that you believed in God, you have to believe that the plant was put here by Him. And we aren't talking about Genesis 1 tonight, so we'll be getting to that momentarily. And listen, I know there's a lot of biblical scholars or whatever that discount the wording or the interpretation of Genesis 1:29. That's fine. There's a lot of that I've learned when it comes to the Bible. I'm not here to get into any of that. I'm not here to get into theological debates. I'm here to read the Bible, talk about my experiences and my reflections on it, and smoke some weed and bounce, as the kids say. I use a lot of slang too. I use a lot of slang. It's good for marketing. It really gets it out there. But I know, as I said, I have a lot of atheist, agnostic followers, and and I'm not under any illusions that you're going to see me in my cool hat and be like, you know what? I believe in God now. I don't think that's the way it works. I think for a lot of people, as it was in my case, you have to pass a certain threshold, and it's not the same for everybody. Some people grew up in the church and believe very much, but some people have to be dragged along that road. I am one of those people. I had to be dragged along that road for a very long time before I saw what was in front of me. We'll get into what I'll be using for the Bible study as well here momentarily. But again, I'm not under any illusions you're going to see this show and be like, oh, I'm a believer now. If you want to chill here and smoke and listen and be exposed more to God's word, then that's great. If not, have a good one. But I did want to start this show. I figured Easter 420, no really better time to start this show than tonight. As far as my story and my specific story and how I got to God and all that, I may share that at some point. Suffice it to say, as I was saying earlier, you have to pass a certain threshold of misery with your life to see things. My misery, the vast majority of my misery was self-inflicted. And whether it's self-inflicted or it's not, that's the way a lot of people come to Christianity, just through monumental, catastrophic events in their life. And that's what happened to me. Like I said, that's a story for maybe for another time, maybe never. I don't know. It depends on if the urge strikes me, I guess, or if I feel it's necessary or whatever. But that's not really what this show's about. The show's not really about me per se. It's about, well, it's about me in as much as I feel the need to be used as God's instrument to maybe reach people that were unreachable before, just by virtue of me being some dopey character on the internet. People have started from worse. I mean, I have a rather large following, and I have to wonder, and I have to think of why that is. It's because of my innate talent and charisma? I don't think it is. I don't, I don't want to down myself too much, but I don't think that's it. I think there's a greater purpose when it comes to that. Some people are commenting, which StreamYard didn't tell me. Thank you, StreamYard. You're very helpful. Troll Hunter agreed with something. I don't know what, because StreamYard didn't tell me I had comments. Oh, I've forgotten how much I hate you, StreamYard, when it comes to live streaming. Thank you. Thank God. Thank God indeed. Again, don't know what's in reference to because I don't know. And it says that those comments were made at 11:46, which is impossible. It's 10:07 Eastern. Cannot have possibly, in any time zone, those comments could have been made at 11:46. It's not how time zones work. Some take an extra push to gain revelation. Absolutely. And like I said, I don't think that this show is going to be that for people. It's like I said, if it helps you along that road in any way, then that's good. If it doesn't, it's not what I meant to do. But there are a lot of people who, like I said, a lot of I did a poll a few months ago of my followers. It was a few thousand. I don't forget how many people, responded. It's not the whole 184,000, obviously, but I think it's something like 46% identified as Christian of my followers, which is not even a majority. So I know a lot of you watching this are going to be atheists. You're going to be agnostic. And like I said, trust me, I know. I know all about it. I know all the arguments, and well, I've faced all of them going down this road, and I've learned a lot about the Bible over the last 194 days, I guess, since I started this. And I'm going to share with you all. It's not about likes or clicks, or there's going to be no sponsors. There's going to be none of that. It's just live streaming, and smoking some of the plant that God put here. But again, I'm not an expert on the Bible, far from it. If you have biblical questions, I doubt I'll be able to answer them. If you have theological questions, again, I doubt I'll be able to answer them, but feel free. Maybe I can direct you to someplace that can. Now, I'm be using first what's used known as the Enduring Word Bible app. You probably can't see that; it's bright as hell. But anyway, why is that so bright? Turn down some. Anyway, it has very big print, so it'll be very easy for me to reference and read from. That's its main. Plus, there's a lot of commentary that we can talk about. What I do with my in-depth answers on my front here, my in-depth Bible study is the ESV Study Bible. I love this thing, but it's not conducive for live streaming. The print is very small. I don't want to sit here like this, trying to read from it while trying to talk into the microphone and all that. But if you are really interested in learning more about the Bible, like in-depth notes and commentary about the translations and the culture and the time and all of that stuff, I would suggest the ESV Study Bible. It's my favorite book in the world. But like I said, we're going to go with the Enduring Word Bible app because the print's very big and I'm very old and I wear glasses. I have trouble seeing. All of these things you probably already know by watching previous shows that I've done. And every single one of them, you see me wearing glasses. Trust me, I know. I know you have. There's not been a single show where I've not been wearing glasses, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to see any of this. The comments, the controls, the keyboard, this phone, anything. And I don't know how far we're going to get through in Genesis 1. There's over 1,100 chapters in the Bible. There's 66 books. It's a lot. It's extremely long. If I just did a chapter a week, it would take me something like 21.4 years to get through the Bible. So sometimes we'll do more, sometimes we'll do less. Different books or different lengths. There have a lot of them are genealogies, which I'm not going to sit here and read genealogies, or son of whoever begat son of whoever. I'm not going to do that. I'll talk about relevant stuff. I do want to say one more thing before we get into reading some of this. Like I said, I don't know how far in chapter 1 we'll get tonight. But if you want to learn more, there's a few good podcasts that I really love and I really listen to a ton. One is called 10-Minute Bible Talks. And they've gone through many, many chapters of the Bible. Not all of them. They've gone through many. And with their commentary and stuff, it's really good, insightful resource as far as podcasting. It's called 10-Minute Bible Talks. There's also a Bible, the Bible in a Year.com. It's from pray.com. And they took a year to go through all the stories of the Bible. So basically 366 episodes, whatever it was. And I've gone through a lot of those as well. I'm into the New Testament now and the Gospels. But another great resource if you're more into the narrative style. A lot of the Bible is boring. I mean, you're going to find very few people, even hardcore Bible lovers, that will say, it's all exciting stuff. It's not. And I think that's presented a lot of problems for, people over the years as far as getting people interested in the Bible and whatnot. In any case, I'm not claiming I'm going to make it any more exciting. I'm just going to skip the parts that are super boring. We will talk about them and talk about what their purpose is and stuff like that. But I'm not going to sit here and read genealogies. See, more comments that StreamYard is not telling me I have. Solo checking in. StreamYard, you're not helping me, bro. I'm trying to preach God's word here. Happy Easter to you as well. And happy 420. Absolutely. I'll check comments periodically because StreamYard is just not. They just don't care. I don't know what to say. Why don't they care? In any case, start with Genesis 1:1. And Genesis there's a lot in Genesis. I mean, obviously, creation, Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Noah, the Tower of Babel, Noah and the flood. And that's just like the first 11 chapters. All that happens. So there's a lot. So to start with it, and again, this Enduring Word Bible app is also very good. Again, the big type. I really can't see. You can kind of see it there. You can kind of see how big the type is. Genesis 1:1. A simple factual statement regarding God's work as creator. Quote, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then they give you some commentary as far as beginning with God created. This summary statement will be detailed in the following verses, but the Bible simply and straightforwardly declares the world did not create itself or come about by chance. It was created by God, who by definition is eternal and always has been. There's a guy named Derek Kidner, I believe his name is. Hold on. Let me get that right as well. Yeah, Derek Kidner. A lot of Old Testament Bible commentaries. He says, no accident that God's the subject of the first sentence of the Bible, for his word. This word dominates the whole chapter and catches the eye at every point of the page. It is used some 35 times in as many verses of the story. And they go on to the second part of the commentary. If you believe in Genesis 1:1, you believe Genesis 1:1, you really have no problem believing the rest of the Bible. The God big enough to have created the heavens and the earth is big enough to do all of the rest of the Bible says that he did and does. Now, obviously, when it comes about debate between atheists and Christians, just about all of it eventually comes down to this: how did this all begin? The rest of it is there's interesting arguments and such, but where the crux of the matter is you either believe God created all this or you believe it happened some other way. 30 years as agnostic. For those of you who don't know, the difference between being an agnostic and being an atheist is an atheist actively disbelieves in God. They are certain that God does not exist. Agnostics simply acknowledge that they don't know. And I didn't know. So technically me being an agnostic was an accurate label because there was no way for me to honestly say, oh, I know God exists. And there was no way for me to honestly say God doesn't exist. It seemed to me something impossible for humans to know. And even after becoming a Christian and finding my way back to God, it still strikes me as something that's too big for us to really grasp. I feel like, while true, a lot of the creation story in Genesis is simplified for us dummies. And I don't say that in a mean way. We just don't have the ability to comprehend what would go into the creation of this universe. I think if God put it in our head, the details of creation, I think our heads would explode. I think what is in Genesis is, while 100% true, is what he knows we will get and what he needs us to get out of it, even more so than anything else. And again, I'm not an expert on the Bible. This is my impressions as a novice when it comes to the Bible. I feel like, well, we'll read some more of it and we'll see just how simplified it could be versus the actual details and just the incredible majesty of what would have had to have taken place. Even people who believe in the Big Bang, when you ask them what happened before the Big Bang, they have no idea. It's just, that's where things started. So for everybody, even people who believe or don't believe, how all this started, I think, is quite unknowable to its fullest extent. So obviously the difference in that context between belief and disbelief becomes rather large because it overshadows and leads to the rest of your worldview. The word God is the ancient Hebrew word Elohim. Grammatically, it is a plural word used as if it were singular. The verbs and pronouns used with Elohim should be in the plural, but when Elohim refers to the Lord God, the verbs and pronouns are in the singular. Adam Clark quoted Rabbi Simeon ben Yochai commenting on the word Elohim, quote, "Come and see the mystery of the word Elohim. There are 3 degrees, and each degree by itself alone, and yet notwithstanding they are all one, and joined together in one, and are not divided from each other." In light of what the rabbi wrote, Adam Clark added this thought: "He must be strangely prejudiced indeed who cannot see the doctrine of a Trinity, and of a Trinity in unity is expressed in the above words." Now, I imagine at some point we'll get into the Trinity, and again, something I'm not an expert on, but something I've, looked through and read more about, and it's not something that a lot of people will grasp on the first pass of it. I really didn't fully. I've had to read through the Trinity and the theory behind the Trinity and all that many times. The reasoning, rather, behind the Trinity. So I'm not going to get into it tonight. If you know more about it, you obviously know more about it. If you want to learn more about it, there are obviously resources for that. I'm not a resource. I'm just a guy smoking weed reading the Bible on the internet. Maybe you consider that a resource. I don't know. But I wouldn't. But I will say this. In terms of Christianity, the Trinity is very important. The Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is extremely important. But again, it's not something that's eminently graspable. And I'm not going to try to help you with that tonight. Martin Luther said, we have clear testimony that Moses aimed to indicate the Trinity or the three persons in the one divine nature. God created the heavens. The simple fact God's creation is even more amazing when we consider the greatness of God's universe. A typical galaxy contains billions of individual stars. Our galaxy alone, the Milky Way, contains 200 billion stars. Our galaxy is shaped like a giant spiral rotating in space, with arms reaching out like a pinwheel, and our sun is one star on one arm of the pinwheel. It would take 250 million years for the pinwheel that is our galaxy to make one full rotation. But this is only our galaxy. There are many other galaxies with many other shapes, including spirals, spherical clusters, and flat pancakes. The average distance between one galaxy and another is about 20 million trillion miles. Our closest galaxy is the Andromeda galaxy, about 12 million trillion miles away. For every patch of the sky the size of the moon, if you could look very deep, you would see about 1 million galaxies. In other words, the vastness of the universe is, again, something that we really can't grasp. You can hear the numbers. And obviously, there's just trillions upon trillions upon trillions of possibilities when it comes to, say, life on other planets. And if you believe in God, as I do, you believe that He created all that as well. So He created the beings on these other planets. And that just opens up a whole... I mean, you get high and think about that all day. What do beings on other planets, what's their story? We know our story. We have the Bible, but that's just our story. The Bible doesn't tell us anything about any other planet or any other species or any kind of extraterrestrial life. And I find the notion, I've always found the notion of, we are the only intelligent life in a galaxy the sheer size of ours, much less the entire universe, just our galaxy alone. Statistically, I find that hard to believe. And what would be the point? Why create all of that just to have one planet with people? Now that could mean the people that the intelligent beings on all the planets all are like us. Or maybe God, after God saw how we screwed it up, He's like, well, let's go over here. We'll try with these people. These people here on Earth, they're not getting it, obviously. I got to do all this other extra stuff to get them in line and figure out what they should already know. Maybe I have a better chance over here. Maybe He did. Maybe other worlds He created, they were like, yeah, we're gonna toe the line. We know what we're doing. We got this. Maybe we were one of the few that were just like, you know what, now. Give me that apple. Let's do this. Fuck it. I don't think. It's very interesting to think about. And I could do a whole show on that, but I won't. Do we have more comments? I don't know. I can't tell. Why are they all out of order? Why do they all have different times that don't correspond to actual times that I'm on the air? I don't get bogged down complaining about StreamYard. I don't. But God indeed did all this Himself. This is from Isaiah 48:13. Indeed, my hand has laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand has stretched out the heavens. When I call to them, they stand up together. But God is bigger and greater than all His creation. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of His hand, measured heaven with a span, and calculated the dust of the earth in a measure? Isaiah 40:12. God created the heavens and the earth. If God created the heavens and the earth, then we must forever put away the idea that anything happens by chance. Chance merely describes the statistical probability of something happening. Chance itself can neither do or perform anything. Some intelligent people may fall into this delusion. Jacques Monod, a biochemist, wrote, quote, "Chance alone is at the source of every innovation of all creation in the biosphere. Pure chance, absolutely free but blind, at the very root of the stupendous edifice of evolution." But assigning such power to chance doesn't make sense. Chance has no power. For example, when a coin is flipped, it has a 50% chance of landing on heads. However, chance does not make it land heads. Whether or not it lands on heads or tails is due to the strength with which the coin is flipped, the strength of the air currents as it flies through the air where it is caught, and if it is flipped over once it is caught. Chance doesn't do anything but describe a probability. Many years ago, a scientist named Carl Sagan, who many of you know, petitioned the U.S. government for a grant to fund search for intelligent life in outer space. He hoped to find evidence of life by using a super sensitive instrument to pick up radio signals from distant space. When he received those radio signals, he looked for order and pattern, which demonstrated the signals were transmitted by intelligent life. In the same way, the order and pattern of the whole universe demonstrate that it was fashioned by intelligent life, not by chance. Scientists detect chance in the radio signals constantly in the form of static with no pattern, but it tells them nothing. Therefore, when someone says the universe or anything else came about by chance, one may say that despite their expertise or skill in other areas, when it comes to this subject, they are ignorant, superstitious, or simply repeating the entire theory said and disproved before, yet unthinkingly accepted. It's a really good point about otherwise people who are intelligent in certain areas doesn't necessarily make them intelligent in other areas. A lot of brilliant scientists, Jimmy, checking out next. Thank you, Jimmy. A lot of brilliant scientists are also atheists. And I know a lot of atheists, a lot of agnostics kind of hang their hat on that. That's one of their main arguments when it comes to disbelief in God or trying to disregard belief in God. Well, so, such and such is a really brilliant guy and he doesn't believe in God. Well, that's fine. That's all well and good. But we have so many holes in our intellect. Even the more intelligent people in this world have so many holes in their intellect that there's, for everything that they know about their subject, the subject that they have or profess expertise in or have recognized expertise in, for everything they know about their subject, there is so much they don't know about every other subject. Again, it goes back to how much the human brain can comprehend and understand. There's only so much we can take in. Even those brilliant people in the world can only know a fraction of what there is to know in the world. We say it a lot. We have the entirety of human understanding and knowledge in this. We have access to it all the time, at any time. But think about what it would take for a human being to know everything that's on Google or Bing or Netscape, whatever search engine it is you use. If you're still using Netscape, hey, big ups. Old school, bro. You know what I'm saying? So just because you're smart in one area doesn't mean anything. If someone's a brilliant chef, does that mean they know about physics? When they have to study physics, when they have to be an expert in physics also, maybe they're very intelligent people. That's all well and good. But it doesn't make them expert in anything, something like religion. I need to turn down my phone, which I apparently forgot to do. So, again, it's not the appeal to authority for all the atheists and the agnostics out there. It's not doing what you think it is. Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks this. Neil deGrasse Tyson, for all he knows maybe about physics or space or whatever, he's a fucking idiot on many subjects. I know a lot about certain things. I know a lot about weed. but I'm a fucking idiot on many subjects. And I wouldn't take my expertise on those subjects. There are also a lot of famous scientists now and, excuse me, in the past who were believers. But again, that doesn't mean you should believe. Just because someone's smart does. God created. Inherent in the idea of God is that he is an intelligent designer. Only an intelligent designer could create a just right universe, not chance. Our universe is a just right universe. According to Hugh Ross in his book, The Fingerprint of God, the universe has a just right gravitational force. If it were larger, the stars would be too hot and would burn up too quickly and too unevenly to support life. If it were smaller, the stars would remain so cool, nuclear fusion would never ignite, and there would be no heat and light. The universe has a just right speed of light. If it were larger, stars would send out too much light. If it were smaller, stars would not send out enough light. The universe has a just right average distance between stars. If it were larger, the heavy element density would be too thin for rocky planets to form, and there would only be gaseous planets. If it were smaller, planetary orbits would become destabilized because of the gravitational pull from other stars. The universe has a just right polarity of the water molecule. If it were greater, the heat of fusion and vaporization would be too great for life to exist. If it were smaller, the heat of fusion and vaporization would be too small for life's existence. Liquid water would become too inferior, a solvent for life chemistry to proceed. Ice would not float, leading to a runaway freeze up. We could conclude that there is no chance that such a universe could create itself apart from an intelligent designer. And this is something else that a lot of atheists and agnostics will have problems with. They will point to the sheer amount of unused space, supposed unused space. Even if you would say that there are billions of planets that have intelligent life, 99.999% or whatever of the universe appears unused. It's uninhabited, it's dark, there's nothing there, there's no stars, there's nothing. Well, I mean, we don't know much about dark matter, but there's theories that everything that we can't see is dark matter. In any case, there's no way for us to understand what the purpose of it is. Maybe for the existence of those billion planets where they have intelligent life or whatever the number is, everything else has to be the way it is. Sort of a lot of problem. The main problem a lot of atheists and agnostics get into, and this is where we'll stop tonight. I have to bookmark this somehow. I don't know. Doesn't matter right now. Worry about it later where we were. Anyway, the what a lot of people have problems with, a lot of atheists and agnostics, and the level that they never get past is trying to understand what God is doing. And because they can't understand what God is doing, they discount his existence. It's a very short leap to do that. When I started reading the Bible, when I got back to the Bible, I grew up believing Christianity. I went to Bible school, stuff like that, but it wasn't something that I felt in my heart. It was something I was told was true. And when I found out so many other things in my life weren't true as a kid, I kind of drifted away from God, telling myself the whole time that God, abandoned me, and then God doesn't exist. God wouldn't let these things happen, so on and so forth. And it all comes from a desire to understand why something is happening when you many times are never going to understand. And that's where a lot of trust in God comes in, because you don't have to understand. But the problem a lot of atheists and agnostics have is they have this need, and I was this way too. You have this need to understand. You have this need to know. Why is this happening? Why do I suffer this way? Why does this other person suffer this way? Why does this happen to these people? Why is this the way it is? And when I started reading the Bible, one of the first things I read was Proverbs 3:5. about relying on your own understanding. And that's still to this day one of the Bible verses that hit me the hardest because that was me. There's a certain amount of arrogance in believing you know more than you do. And that arrogance becomes comfortable. You could find a comfort and a solace in that arrogance. But the problem is you don't know. And for many people they never come to that realization, but for a lot of people that shit smacks you in the face. That you, for lack of a better phrase, God just one day tells you, you don't know shit. Stop. Stop trying to understand. You're not going to. You're not God. You're never going to understand. Some things, sure, you'll get a glimpse. Some things you'll feel like you have a firm grasp on. Yes, I understand that. But most things you have no idea and you never will. You're not God. You don't have God's responsibilities. You have to let go of that arrogance. And again, I'm not here to offer advice or anything. I'm not qualified to offer advice. I know in my case, you have to let go of that arrogance. You have to be humble. And it says it many, many times in the Bible, throughout the Bible. You have to be humble. You don't know. You're probably never going to know. And you have to accept that. You have to trust God. You have to move forward in your life. You waste a lot of time trying to understand. And it can lead you down the road to where you say, oh, well, God left me. But he didn't. He was there the whole time. My 30 plus years being lost as an agnostic, he was still there. And when the opportunity came for him to say, look, you are wrong. You're relying on your own understanding. You're trying to understand. You think you have a grasp on it. You don't know shit. That's a realization a lot of people have to come to. But many won't. But if me doing this live stream helps some come to that realization, well, by all means. And I can use the wonderment of AI to make clips from this. So you'll probably be seeing some clips as well with little captions that are not always correct because AI is still new and having problems. So some words I won't pick up on, but we'll see. But thank you for checking this out. We'll get some more. I know we barely got through chapter 1 of Genesis, but that's, Genesis really, it'll take a while. Like I said, some books we'll be able to get through in a week or two. It'll all balance out. And if it takes me 21.4 years to read the Bible on live streams, well, I imagine in 21 years I'll be like a hologram. It'll be pretty cool. I'll be like a hologram in your living room, reading the Bible. That'd be pretty dope, actually. Looking forward to that. Thanks, everybody. Go follow Highway to God on YouTube and on X. And happy Easter, and God bless you, and have a good night.